Today's video is a big one. Will there ever be a cure for male pattern baldness? I want to break this down honestly. No hype, no miracle cure clickbait, just what the latest science says, what developments are looking promising, what the obstacles are, and is it realistic to expect a cure anytime soon? Also, I'm going to cover how our current tools, hair systems, hair transplants, SMP, finasteride, minoxidil stack up, and whether they'll be replaced, supplemented, or remain our best options. Let's get into it. First, let's define what we mean by male pattern baldness, otherwise known as androgenetic alopecia. Now, it's a genetic and hormonal condition. For those genetically predisposed, DHT, otherwise known as dihydrotestosterone, causes a sensitivity in hair follicles on the top of your head. That over time causes them to shrink, giving the appearance of baldness. The follicles shrink, the growth cycles shorten, and eventually they stop producing visible hair. It's a progressive condition, and the best we have for it right now is massively slowing down that progression. Now, what are the challenges being faced to reverse this? Firstly, follicle dormancy versus follicle loss. In many cases, the follicles are still there, but they're in a very, very miniaturized state, almost microscopic. In others, the follicle may be irreversibly lost, and in that scenario, it can mean that that hair just can't grow back. It's gone. It's gone. It's either scarred or replaced by connective tissue. The second challenge is the genetic complexity which we all have. Multiple genes are involved in male pattern baldness. It's not just one gene, so any genetic treatment that might pop up in the future must deal with hormonal signaling, gene expression, possibly even epigenetics as well. And if you don't know what those things mean, you might want to check it out on Google because it's fascinating. The third challenge that comes with finding a cure to reversing male pattern baldness are the hormonal side effects that might come with any medication which becomes available in future. I've spoke ad nauseum about the side effects that you can encounter when you use finasteride, when you use minoxidil, but it's important to remember that the hormone DHT, which causes male pattern baldness, is involved in so many different bodily functions. So with that, you're risking an increased number of side effects. And the fourth challenge is delivery and safety. The real focus of clinical trials is how effectively the medicine can actually reach the target sites, and also can they reach them safely. And this literally takes years. This can take 5 to 10 years of trials just to get to an endpoint. And that endpoint might not even be successful. So I think at this point, you'll probably understand that finding a cure-all for male pattern baldness is a challenge. I think it's doable, but it's definitely challenging, and it's certainly not on the immediate horizon. But science is pushing forward, and I'm a fantastic believer in research finding cures. So let's look at the latest research that is happening in the hair loss sector right now. So the first I'd like to point out is by Pelage Pharmaceuticals, and they've identified a small molecule called PP405 that can actually wake up dormant hair follicles. These are follicles which aren't dead, they're still alive, but they're miniaturized. Now, the mechanism of action appears to be boosting follicle metabolism, enabling those dormant stem cells to basically re-enter the growth cycle. Now, where are we with these trials? We're at phase 1, which is basically safety trials. They haven't actually done trials in humans yet. That's going to be part of phase 2, which is either underway right now or they're still recruiting. I'm not too sure. But in animal models, they did see an increase in hair density. So it's definitely promising, but it's very, very early stages. Another trial that is ongoing right now is being undertaken by researchers at Sheffield University in the UK. And they've showed that applying a small dose of 2-deoxy-D-ribose, which is a simple sugar, I'm actually very familiar with it myself. I took it as a supplement when I was experiencing chronic fatigue issues years ago. It's very good at giving you a boost of energy, but I never really associated it with hair regrowth. Now, they've used it in a mouse model so far, which simulates testosterone-driven hair loss, which is basically DHT is a form of testosterone, so this is super interesting. And it did boost blood vessel formation in and around those miniaturized hair follicles. And importantly, some hair regrowth was observed. What's unfortunate is that the hair regrowth that was seen was simply comparable to minoxidil. So there's no point in bringing something like this to the market if it's not significantly better than minoxidil. Also, they haven't actually done any trials in humans yet. They've just used mouse models. Now, humans and mice, yes, we're both mammals, but we have very, very different processes going on in our body. They always trial it in mice first, or rats, and then after that, if it's successful in them, they move it on to humans. But that's certainly no guarantee it's going to work in the human population. Researchers are also looking looking at a lot of small molecules that can be used as topical treatments to either block DHT or in some way impact the follicle cycle or the growth cycle activation. So in layman's terms, some biotech companies are now developing topical treatments that can compete with minoxidil and finasteride with the aim of actually producing better outcomes. Any of you who have tried topical finasteride or topical minoxidil, and also, as I mentioned earlier, gene therapy is an option, and that's something which is being researched right now, and investment is being plowed into that particular sector. And this is not just for hair loss. Gene therapy could be massive in the next couple of decades for cancers, autoimmune diseases, viruses, bacterial infections. And another bit of research in the pipeline but not happening yet is going to look at fully restoring the hair follicles which simply aren't there anymore, that have miniaturized so much which they don't even exist anymore. There's no actual follicle there. I'd say that in terms of the science, this is probably the most challenging aspect of male pattern baldness. Effectively regrowing something which isn't even there to be regrown. And that in itself would take years of testing, years of research, and years of trial. They need to work out the efficacy, the delivery, and the safety. So in summary, the science for finding a cure for male pattern baldness is promising. Researchers are looking at a ton of avenues, from stem cell activation to novel molecules. But as of today, none of them are a guaranteed cure and none of them are available. The timeline, realistically, several years at best, so we're gonna need to be patient. So with what we have, are we heading towards a cure? Yes, eventually, in my opinion, we will, but with some very important caveats. The fact that miniaturized follicles persist in a dormant state means we have a potential target. If you can reliably wake them up, you may well restore a lot of hair without the need for mass transplantation. The things that make me cautious are that human trials take years. What works in mice is often far less effective in humans. Also, dose, delivery, and long-term safety are the big unknowns, and that will take time for them to work that out. Now, if they do find a cure in 10, 20 years, the costs are likely to be extremely high. A lot of money would have been invested into research to get this product onto the market, and the pharmaceutical company will want a big chunk of the pie. And we may also find over the next 20 years that you'll get some treatments that come to the market that partially work but aren't a cure. You might have things that are marginally better than finasteride and minoxidil. So I don't think that in the next 5 to 10 years there will be a cure-all for male pattern baldness, unfortunately. But I do think there will be better regrowth options that come out, potentially with fewer side effects and also maybe treatments that can be tailored to specific genetic profiles. Now let's compare the future with what we have now, and whether what we have now will still remain relevant. While we wait for the science to catch up, the best options we have right now are hair systems, hair transplants, finasteride, and minoxidil. And given what's on the horizon, here's how I see things panning out over the next 5 to 10 years. Medical treatments, in my opinion, will improve, but only marginally. If you get 5% regrowth with minoxidil, maybe in 5 to 10 years, you might get a product which effectively gets you 8% growth. I also think that transplants will improve over time, but the caveat is that you will need to take finasteride to maintain the hair that you've already got on the top of your head. But I do think the hair systems will be the biggest winner here. They're getting better and better, they're getting more realistic, more natural, they're becoming more affordable. You're guaranteed a result with hair systems compared to a hair transplant where you don't know how much density you're gonna get. And also attitudes are changing, the media narrative is massively changing. So yeah, that's the way I see things going. But I want to hear your guys' opinions. How far away do you think a cure-all for male pattern baldness is? Do you think it's even curable? And how do you view current solutions evolving over the next 5, 10 to 20 years? I'd be really interested to hear your guys' views on this. Let me know in the comments box below. If you're thinking about getting a hair system yourself, don't forget the 15% discount that I've negotiated with LaVivid just for you guys. You can use it as many times as you like, and you can become a hair system wearer like me, or you can just get a new one if you're currently a hair system wearer. I'll speak to you next week, guys. Thanks for tuning in.